Well, Phil, it's so lovely to welcome you back here to Butser. Thank you so much for coming. We're delighted to have you here for our Saxon House event, but you're here very specially because you were involved in that excavation.
Absolutely. I was here, just shy of 50 years ago when this excavation took place, and literally created the database that allowed you to recreate this wonderful building.
And the site is so close, it's within view of us here. So we can
I
actually
know, I
see
was
where
there,
you were.
I know where it is.
So how did you really get involved with that excavation? Because you don't live here locally.
No, I mean, I'd be bluntly honest, I don't know. I rather suspect it was because I knew the site director, Peter Addyman, and
Right.
I'd worked with Peter at Luggershaw Castle, which was a site in North Wiltshire, very close to where I used to live. And I used to bowl along there on summer holidays and dig at Luggershaw. It's very likely that while we were talking and nattering, he talked about the excavations at Chalton. Other than that, I can't see. And I don't honestly know how the hell I got here either, because I don't suppose I drove. I did find an advertisement of 1973 when they wanted 60 volunteers, 30 males and 30 females.
And that was to excavate?
That was to work on the site. So that was a big crew,
Yes.
crew. I am convinced that when I came here, I think to dig in 74. And by that stage, I was a full-time digging archaeologist. And I must have had a week to kill. And of course, I knew the site directors and all the rest of it. So it was fairly easy to just turn around and say, can I come and dig? And I can remember everything was laid on. Remember, I'm a professional archaeologist, so I sort of expect to get paid, excepting I wasn't.
Yes.
And I was paid the princely sum, if I remember rightly, of 50 pence a day.
Oh, wow.
Now, bearing in mind that's 1974, and as I recollect it, in 1976, beer was 26 pence a pint. So basically they were giving you 2 pints a day. Except that Phil, poor old Phil, was getting nagged at home by my mother, who was law-abiding as hell. And my law-abiding mother insisted that I should pay my national insurance stamp, which was the princely sum of, I think, £2.50 a day. So all my beer money was going into my pension fund. I got diddly squat for that 1 week that I was here. But
What an
I was
experience.
here.
Yes.
I was at Chalton. I have this kind of distant memory of being able to look down on it. And it's one of those sites that if you're a beginner, if you want to be captivated by archaeology, it's a site that would captivate you, because you could stand on the photographic tower and look down, and there was this settlement laid out.
The remains were unbelievable, weren't they? It was probably the best documented excavation of Saxon remains in southern Britain.
Yep.
I think.
And you know, it kind of totally shot ideas of the Dark Ages, what primitives the Saxons were after the wonderful Romans packed up and went and all the rest of it. And when you saw those buildings, and then of course now you can reconstruct them, you go, hey,
Yes.
they weren't so dark after all. They were really spot on. And the point of it is, I mean, there's still a big chunk of me in here that is a West Saxon. You know, King Alfred, big hero of mine. King Alfred, I'm sure King Alfred would really have felt at home in a building like this. He probably even burnt the cakes on a fire like that.
We're not intending to burn any cakes this afternoon. We will be cooking some, but we won't be burning them. So, do you like our Saxon house?
I think it is the most amazing. It brings the archaeology to life. Yeah. When I saw that Chalton house spread out in the chalk, all those squares of post
and really clear,
and
really obvious.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what you can do with this is, I mean, all right, famously on things like Time Team, we'd cue graphics, and this thing would
Which is amazing.
come out of the ground. Here, it doesn't come out of the ground, it is out of the ground.
Yeah.
And we've now excavated other examples. I mean, in those days, Chalton was a rarity.
Oh yes.
But I mean, I've done excavations of Saxon halls in Bicester, Sutton Courtenay. We did one of the biggest Saxon halls ever been found in Britain at Sutton Courtenay, and there's others plenty all over Britain. And you can start building. You can start taking construction details from one, putting them in, and then that when you actually build one of these things, actually you ain't far out. You know,
because the archaeology matches from one site to another.
What you're trying to do is make sure you don't make it up.
Yeah.
You know, and you'll have done your homework with a building like this to make sure that the facts are as close as we can get them and it is plausible.
Well, we're really pleased that there were the evidence for two houses at that excavation that look very similar, almost like mirror images. So our other Saxon house is the other one, the one we built first. But the footprints look almost identical.
Yeah.
But the build, when you look at it, looks different because we've interpreted it. We've tried to show people how those remains in the ground could have been left by different build techniques.
And I think as a visitor attraction, when people walk in, they are going to have that experience of walking into a Saxon building. And I'll bet you if the ghost of a Saxon walked through that door, he or she would probably feel at home.
I hope so. I really hope so. So how old were you when you first had anything to do with archaeology?
When my first visit to an excavation, I was at the age of 8. And you've got to remember, I mean, nowadays there's young archaeologist clubs and
there wasn't anything like that then.
And opportunities to nurture enthusiasm amongst the young for the past and all the rest of it. For me, there was none of those opportunities. My mother was a secretary on a farm, and the local farm manager used to come up to her on a Friday with the timesheets for them blokes who used to work on the farm. She'd put the money up and he'd take the money away and distribute it round. One day he come into her and he said, "Oh, we are, Mrs. Arden." He said, "I understand your old boy's interested in history. We got a dig down on the farm, why don't you bring him down?" Now, I was 8 years old. He knew that I was already showing an interest in the past at the age of 8.
And what was the dig? What were they excavating then?
They were excavating some ploughed out Bronze Age barrows, ring ditches, when you could stand there. I could take you to the spot now. You look out across the field and you see Stonehenge, within sight of Stonehenge. And I can remember there was nobody digging there when we went there. And all I can remember was seeing this gleaming white chalk. And there were some holes in the chalk that totally contrasted with the gleaming white. They were black.
Wow.
And I didn't understand what that was. And it took me literally decades before I realised what they were. Cremation pits.
Right, so that was the charcoal, and
that was it. But that impression, those black holes in a gleaming white chalk, made an incredible impact on me. So yeah, I mean, I was showing. I don't know if I was call it showing an aptitude at the age of 8, but I was showing an enthusiasm and interest at the age of 8. And then when I was 15, I suppose, coming 16, I had a chance to go on a dig. Thank God my parents paid for me the tuition fees. It was a training excavation. Little did they know, but I suppose at the end of the day, I can argue that it was the best investment on my life they ever made.
I know you particularly because of your experiences and skills with flint. That's what you're really, really well known for. So how did you get involved with flint?
Well, I suppose when you're living and spending all your early life, most of your life, like I have, on the chalk, I mean, flint is like a weed, isn't it? You know, the Hampshire diamonds, they like to call them around here, don't they? And I suppose I've always been passionate about, more interested anyway, about the prehistoric period. It's the Stone Age. And I'm the sort of person who, I don't like to, what shall I say? I don't like to talk about things. I like to do them. And I think it would be discourteous of me if I studied flints and didn't understand how they were made and how they were used.
But I also think by physically doing it yourself, that gives you so much more understanding about how people would have chosen those flints in the first place and how they would have worked on them, because you've had experience of that, so you can put that experience into. You can
very soon pick out the people who know flints and don't know flints. People who set themselves up as being flint specialists and who've never made an arrowhead in their life, because they talk absolute rubbish, some of them.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't want to necessarily demean them too much, but that experience, that knowledge, again, that wisdom that you get to learn, and you learn so much about the people themselves. You know, my dream site, and I've done it a couple of times, is to excavate an undisturbed knapping spread where somebody has actually physically knapped, and to be able to use my version of those skills to literally look over their shoulder and think, he ain't bad. He doesn't know that I'm there. He's working away there, and I'm going, that's all right. Nice technique.
It depends
there.
how good they would have been.
Nice technique there, my old mate, you know.
Yeah.
And then he hits one off. Oh, God, yeah. You know he's going to cuss, because you know you would. Oh, you didn't hit that right, mate. And you can. And you realise that flint knappers in the prehistoric period have always been human. They make the same mistakes that I make, or I make the same mistakes as the ones that they do. Sometimes you know you shouldn't hit a piece of flint off, but you do. Or you try to, and you think, if I just hit it harder, it'll work. But you know it won't.
But you want to try it anyway.
You have to try it anyway, and then you wreck it.
Yeah.
And you know
but it's that
well
experience,
you shouldn't have done it.
And it's that experience that leads you on to the next bit. You won't do it again.
Yeah.
But isn't that's about everything we do? It's about experiencing.
But when you go through the museum collections and you go, I've done that myself, you know. But the crucial thing is, I still get a buzz out of it.
Absolutely.
You know, if I tip out a bag of flint, wonder what's in here. And the 10 chances to 1, I might recognise something that the excavator didn't, either because they don't know what they're looking for, or else it's covered in muck. So I see it, and
yeah.
That's one of those arrowheads or something like this, you see. And when I put that stuff back in the bag, and I get up from my desk, I go, that's why I still do it. I still get the buzz from it. And if I didn't get the buzz from it, that's probably the time to retire.
I don't think you're ever going to give up that buzz, to be honest.
I hope not. I hope not.
And that buzz is what has enthused so many other people.
I can't help myself. I can't help myself. I love it. It's what people say to me, how did you get started in it, or something like this? What made you want to be an archaeologist? My answer is, I was made to be an archaeologist. That's why I'm here. I can't help myself. If I wanted to be a professional footballer, I couldn't be, because I've been preordained. I've been put on this planet to be an archaeologist.
Well, we're really pleased about that. That's excellent.
You don't know how good a footballer I'd have been.
Well, true.
I'd have had a lot more of this, though.
Yeah, but would you really have enjoyed it as much? And I know that you really enjoy the archaeology.
Oh, you know, I mean, that's it. Of course, you get your bad days.
Yeah, when it's raining,
you know,
and it's wet
everybody
and cold.
does.
And, yes.
But, you know, like I say, it's that buzz.
Yeah. So what do you think has been your favourite bit?
I've been very, very lucky to work with not only very good archaeologists, but very good soil scientists, geologists, geographers. I mean, I did 20 years of that certain TV program. But you see, what I think was one of the perks was not being on the telly or anything of that sort. That was a bit on the side. What was the perk was being able to dig in such an amazing array, diverse array of sites, different periods, different geologies. And when you went to that site, you didn't have the foggiest idea what you were going to encounter. Now, when I started digging, I dug on chalk. And I assume, I did spend 2 or 3 years on chalk. All right, I beginning to get to know a little about digging on chalk on the site that I was digging. But chalk the same all the way.
No.
It varies. And so you've got to get that into your head. And then you have to learn how to dig on a sandy site and on a gravelly site and on a stony site and on a wet site and on a dry site and all these different things that keep coming in. And that is all to do with experience. I always used to say the most important trench we ever put in on Time Team was the first one, because there you got your head round how thick the topsoil was, whether there was any subsoil that had to come off, how well was the archaeology produced, what did the archaeology look like, and because I got that experience, it gave me that skill to be able to ask those sorts of questions and come up with answers. And once you got your head round the first trench, you could then start moving it to the second one and the third one and the fourth one, or have you. But you could only do that, I think so anyway, because of that experience bank that I built up.
I think the Time Team programme was really, really valuable. I'm sure you enjoyed it. We, as viewers, enjoyed it. I remember watching that. But I think it was really valuable in that it's raised the bar. It raised people's awareness of archaeology tremendously.
What it meant to was, I think, was that aspect of communication, because you can, as well as I do, archaeologists can string together quite complicated sentences using big fancy words, and people say, "Cool, he knows a lot. He uses fancy words," but of course he knows diddly squat. Basically, he means he's trying to bluff his way through it. Can you put it into plain English? You put it into plain English. Oh, is that what you meant? Yeah, that's what I meant. Oh, well, I can understand that. Well, that was what you had to do.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, if we hadn't been able to do that on Time Team, my career on Time Team would have been a very, very short span. Because, if you start going off on one of these academic ones with big, long words, get out. They don't want you.
You wouldn't have had viewers.
Sorry?
You wouldn't have had the vast number of viewers that you had.
No.
But I think one of the really beneficial things of certainly Time Team, but yourself as well, is that as archaeologists, you shared that information, you shared the things that you found out. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Sharing the information about our past.
And putting it into plain English, and I mean, the master was Mick Aston.
Yes.
Mick was just such a great communicator. I wouldn't say I had to learn it, but Mick was just an instinctive communicator, and that was it.
And it came over that the whole programme was about passing that information on.
And it was also, I like to think there was also that level of respect, because the number of times, because Mick was usually site director, he held the responsibility for the archaeology on his shoulders, and it was often, if we were doing a scheduled ancient monument, it was his name on the scheduled consent and what have you. And they would say, "Well, what do you want to do now, Mick? What did my mate Phil Arden say? What do you think, Phil?" Number of times you say, "What do you think, Phil?" If it was an excavation issue, how are we going to approach this? What do you think, Phil? Phil would put his thing. And if Phil said that, that's good enough for me. Mick had that amazing level of respect for my skills in a trench. He never asked me about what my feelings were about geophysics or landscapes, but if he wanted an opinion on geophysics, he'd go to John Gator or landscapes. He'd go to Stuart, or if he wanted some finds or something like that, he'd go to Helen or somebody like that. But ultimately, there was this ultimate respect of our skills.
So, what has been your favourite dig to present up to now?
I think it's kind of weird, actually. The favourite one of all.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, and it just doesn't seem right to say this, but it's the last one. And it not because, thank God, I don't have to do any hard
feel
work.
Like that.
It was just such an amazing site, and that was the site on the edge of Salisbury Plain at Bulford.
Right.
And I guess for me, it ticked all the boxes. It was on God's wonderful geology chalk. I still love chalk. I've lived all my life on chalk. I love it.
You get such wonderful evidence left.
Well, I mean, it can be some pretty grubby old stuff to dig if you ain't got very good chalk. That wasn't too bad chalk. It's prehistoric, so so sorry Saxons, but I am. Again, I've lived in Wiltshire all my life. It's a wonderful, wonderful county for the prehistoric period. It's a site that is directly relevant to Stonehenge.
It's quite close, isn't it, Bulford?
It's very close to Stonehenge, but the material that we were finding at Stonehenge, the chap said to me, he said, "You realise the people that visited your site probably visited Stonehenge?" And we got some of the earliest dates from the late Neolithic in southern England. It's just, it just ticks the boxes all the way down. And I could have missed that site. I could have retired. I couldn't, but in terms of the mathematics of age, I could have retired. And if I'd have retired when that site come along,
you'd have missed it.
I would have missed it, and I'd have never lived with myself. And now, what really drives me on now is the opportunity to write it up and publish it and all the rest of it.
Well, Phil, it's been lovely talking to you. Thank you so much for coming. It's been lovely to be able to talk, but I know that you've really come because we want to celebrate the fact that we've now finished this house.
What gives me so much pleasure is to feel that in a funny sort of way, I contributed to this.
Oh, you definitely did.
Because I participated in the excavation, and to be able to bring that excavation to life really is just so absolutely amazing.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been lovely. Thank you very much.